Morning. Welcome to the 11 a.m. Monday morning marketing webcast. I am your host, Chris Bernard. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you're doing absolutely stupendous. So, Super Bowl. How many of you watched it? How many of you didn't? Good stuff? Not good stuff? What do you think? It is now the day after Super Bowl, and it is the Monday morning marketing webcast. So, it is Valentine's Day, guys. So today, I'd like to discuss something that is really, really, really important. It is, let me adjust my camera just a smidgen there. I'll look taller, stand on a box maybe. This thing travels everywhere with me, so it's all good. So, do your customers love you? Really? Going beyond the 5-star review. So, recently, some of you have known that I lost my grandmother, my last grandparent, this last week, actually. So, as with probably a lot of you, you have relationships with people. They're either customers or vendors, and they issue your prayers and thoughts and everything like that on social media, and it reminds me of just how personal our businesses can be, right? They're not only business, they're clients, they're vendors, they're coworkers, but it's the personal side of it that really kind of brings humanity back into its full glory, right? So I wanted to share just something. This is one of our clients. I'm going to brag about one of our clients here. I've known them for, I don't know, probably 8 years, maybe, maybe a little longer than that. Oh, Dr. Fiorini might be able to tell you. But Fiorini Chiropractic, they are in Tallahassee, Florida. Okay, so I get this last week in the mail, and it is your sympathy card. Okay, and yes, it comes from a Medical Arts Press. So obviously they're working with a company to kind of help them do this. But this was not your run-of-the-mill kind of sympathy card from staff. If you can see this, I hope you can. These are all the staff members that literally took time out of their day to independently, I'm going to get Megan's in there, to independently send just a thought and prayer message for me and my family. Guys, this is what life is about. This is about relationship, okay? And so I wanted to take just a couple minutes, not only to brag about Fiorini Chiropractic in Tallahassee, but we do work with a lot of physicians, and we are blessed. The physicians that we have are just fantastic, from chiropractors to laparoscopic surgeons to urologists to you fill in the blank, right? So just really, really great customers that we have. I'd say they're not really, yes, they're customers and they pay us for clients, right? So really great people, but at the same time reminds me of something really, again, just there's a couple things I'd like to kind of hit with you here in order to kind of start the week off. Because again, business is business, but these are also relationships. So at the bare minimum, have tangible things like this, like personalization of your emails, right? Like personalization in terms of like a CRM system that kind of does these kind of things for you, right? That communicates on a regular basis with your customers. You should be doing that stuff, but also be mindful of that personal side of it. You know, there's always triggers like, okay, they visit a website, they, download a product, file or spec sheet. There's triggers that you can do in your CRM system, which are very business oriented, but also thinking about the things that are not so business oriented, right? In terms of if they're management or C-level, they're probably at a certain calendar kind of schedule with their business. There's certain decisions that are made during different times of the year in certain industries that you can be a part of, that you can be mindful of, right? So different types of recruiting times for college in terms of graduates. All of these things, think about those life stage or event triggers that you could play into, right? Those are, at the bare minimum, you should be thinking about that stuff. But also, I'm going to go a little bit further than that. I'm going to say try, so at the mere minimum, those kind of things. But I'm also going to ask that you would consider something. Okay? And it would be what I like to call train mentality. Now, train is in like, lifting, planning, scheduling, process, that kind of thing. But seriously, think about, recognize, right? Recognize that there's things that you can do to build into all the people that touch customers, clients, prospects, vendors. Those are all people, okay? There's things that you can do to train mentality in terms of certain things that are important in those industries, okay? So let me give you an example. We did a market plan for one of the quick service restaurants. I was connected with the Outback brand. And anyway, they had competitors already, and this is like a bowl kind of company where you have you start with your rice or your noodles, and then you go ahead and you select a meat or two or three, and then you have vegetables that you can add to that. Really great idea, but they were not the first ones to market with it, right? So in the market plan, one of the things that we were going to kind of bake into, I'll use that pun, bake into that business was recognizing different customers coming through the line and what their interests are. So they had two different customer bases. One of those customer bases was your, younger, maybe college, maybe first job. She definitely drives an import. She might even drive a Jeep, those kind of things. And just that kind of that lifestyle, that really energetic kind of, she might go to, spinning classes or yoga classes or whatever, but she's on that kind of that edge, that cusp of, style and those kind of things, but she's definitely younger. She does not have a family yet. Okay. So recognizing as she comes through, recognizing what interests her and being able to communicate that even as you're kind of preparing some of the stuff, even if it's busy, to make a comment, to encourage her somehow in a certain way. Okay. I really like those glasses on you. Those are fantastic, right? Everyone loves a good compliment, right? Or you go to the gym, where do you go, right? Those kind of things. The mom that comes through with her kids, she has, yes, she may still have those same kind of interests. Everyone likes a compliment, but that mother with young kids and maybe with the husband in tow on that, she has a different set of potential interest elements. So, encouraging her that she's really taking care of her family, that those vegetables will really count towards 1/5 of the overall kind of, vegetable intake. And it sounds like they love them. So that's really awesome. Way to go, Mom. Those kind of things just make people feel encouraged, right? There's your letter there of just recognizing people, right? But to be able to train that mentality into your people. Now, a lot of us that work with like big data sets and information and emails and phone numbers and CRM systems, for you guys and gals, I challenge you. I do this all the time myself, right? If I recognize that each and every person, that big spreadsheet that we're looking at, that first name, last name, email, phone number, product interest, whatever, but whatever file I'm looking at, I need to take some time and recognize that those are people. I know that sounds really weird, but a lot of us, we come into our offices, we close the door, and we forget that those are people. Like those are like moms and dads and aunts and uncles and nephews and nieces and grandparents. We forget that those people have a totally different life experience than us, and they just become data. Probably like a doctor, right? A doctor sees so many people in surgery, doesn't even recognize he's operating on like a lung of a mom or something, right? He's just doing lung surgery or something. It's helpful for us, especially being in the touchy-feely. It's not necessarily like the doctor, because a lot of times the patient's out, but for us in marketing, it can open up a huge amount of opportunities if we think about those people as actually being people. All those records of being people, okay? And yeah, we can index them with different types of demographic and geographic things or product interests and all that. Those are all helpful, but it really brings us, looking at them as people brings us to an area where we can think even more out of the box than that. Beyond just the technology and the algorithms and AI, but to really be human, okay? So The other thing that email, first name, last name, phone number represent is actually a sign of trust, right? They have given you that information. They have given you that information to use and to use appropriately and effectively. Okay. So do not take that lightly. All right. Very, very important. So where do we go with this? There's a lot that we can actually do. Okay. In terms of personalization, now kind of embracing the humanality, right, of these clients, right, that have chosen to work with us, right, or given us information maybe in terms of an email or something of that nature. So what do we do with that? Okay, as a small company, you have different abilities than you do with a medium-sized company or an enterprise, right? So let's think about that. There's one key element that is the same in all of them, by the way. The key element, I'll wrap it up with this, right? The first part of the small company one is to hire the right people, right? This happens at a personal level because a small group of people, and he's got a little bit larger staff than this. I don't think everyone is in there, but those people actually know me and my family, right? Right? So when they see a social media post, there's no real complex kind of algorithm that has to go on, right? There's no signals that need to be there. That they're just people, right? They know us, right? So the people, hiring the right people is critical. If you're in a service-based business, this is very, very, very important. Okay, I don't care if you're fixing their air conditioning or you're, a chiropractor. Or laparoscopic surgery. It doesn't matter, okay? The other side of it is technology. So in this case here, the good doctor used Facebook, I believe, to recognize that signal, right? But there's things that you can do in terms of Facebook to set signals. There's certain technology, there's certain alerts that you can do. So it's very important to be able to kind of scale that a little bit, because as your patient, in this case, your patient level increases or your customer base increases, that personal thing is going to get real hard for you to manage, okay? So that's a small business. The medium-sized business, hire the right people. Use the technology, but then also have a process. It doesn't mean that the small business can't have processes in place. Okay, we're going to look for these types of signals. We're going to put some certain tools, listening tools around there in order to go ahead and do that stuff. It doesn't mean that you don't have those processes as a small business. It just becomes critically important at a medium-sized business. And if your employees are willing to take that ride with you, especially your sales teams, by the way, I probably don't need to say that, but your sales teams need to be a little bit more open than the guy back there operating the welding machine, for example. Okay. It should go without saying, but that should be an integral part of your hiring process for your salesperson, knowing that they're in that industry and it's their book, right? Their relationships that you're also hiring in there. So you're going to support that, right, as much as you can. So that medium-sized business is really important. The enterprise level is going to have listening tools, right? So whether it's Sprinklr or some of these other ones out there, you need to hire the right people. Okay, so that's the theme running through all three of those, right? Hire the right people. But you also need to really make sure that you're leveraging not only the technology, but also processes behind that. A lot of times, you need to be reviewing your processes on a regular basis, probably twice a year or something of that nature, to recognize certain signals that trending in a certain way, right? And you figure that out by talking to your salespeople, your marketing people, looking at your sales data, all that. So that becomes... Again, they're all pretty much the same thing, but the scale and the complexity of those matters a lot, okay? If you need help with that, you can by all means schedule an appointment with me, roibychris.com. We'll schedule a 15-minute quick consult. We'll kind of walk through some of your ideas and go from there. So where do you go? Action steps. Always action steps, right? First one, think through emotional and life stage events and other triggers to be listening for that are important to your customer base. Okay, so that's kind of the big overwhelming action step. Now, with this, there's a couple things, right? We're in business yet. With this, if we lived in Tallahassee, which we don't, If I lived in Tallahassee, not only would I get an appointment, not only would Dr. Fiorini get an appointment if I wasn't feeling well, it reminded me that that's something that might be helpful for me. But in addition to that, I have such a warm feeling for this specific doctor and his staff that I can't help but not recommend the moment I hear something that may help, right? Somebody around me, my family or friends or coworker, whatever the case may be. He's got the business. Like, that's going to happen. Just have that relationship with them, right? So that's really important. Understand, though, that business is also part of the program, right? So capitalize when you're doing all this listening and trigger analysis and all of that. Capitalize on those that are closely related to your business, right? Think about the situational excitement, like in his case here, how he felt after the appointment, right? There's no longer pain in the lower back or the neck, right? Or I felt like I was standing up straighter in my case with Dr. Fiorini. Okay, I just felt like I had better posture. Instead of the shoulders flowing this way, it was much more straight, and I didn't have to think about holding my shoulders back, right? So, or if we have a client that specializes in truck and Jeep accessories, so off-roading stuff, very, very exciting opportunity. If you can get, in fact, we're designing a website for them, but if we can get that mud experience into any electronic communication, or mud just crawling down and there's wipers moving on the screen, those kind of things are really exciting to them. Okay, so thinking about even neat videos and happy birthday stuff to kind of reinforce the brand. Okay, but to think about that emotional excitement, that situational excitement that you can really kind of tap into. If you can't, out of your big customer base, there's going to be signals and opportunities to talk to them. If there isn't, right, look for the other side of it, the human side of it, right? This doesn't relate with his business. I mean, I guess it could from like a stress management standpoint, being a chiropractor, but it's not related. Like, it's not like, oh, I've got this great new winch for a Jeep. Go look at it. It's not like that, right? This is just a human being in a human-driven organization, one that cares about its clients, to show care and compassion. So just be amazingly human is really, really cool and is banked money. It really is. You're investing in it. So I hope this helps kind of rejigger some of the thought processes, especially on this wonderful of Valentine's Day opportunities. Love your customers more. Think about this week and let me know what you've come up with. Love to hear back from you. If you need help trying to figure this out and kind of make your customers a little bit more addicted to who you are, because there's a lot of love in your organization. You need to get it out to people. Love to be a part of that process. So hope you have a great week, and we will talk to you next week for the 11 a.m. Monday Morning Marketing Webcast. I am your host, Chris Bernard.